Hi everyone, Jesse here with etrailer. Today we'll be taking a look at and I'll show you how to install the Roadmaster Smart Diode Kit on our 2024 Jeep Wrangler Unlimited. When looking to set up your vehicle for flat towing, there's going to be 5 main components that you need to look into, starting with our base plate. This is going to be your physical structure that your motorhome and vehicle will connect through the next main component, which is the tow bar. That's just the physical link between the two. And then we have our diode wiring that's going to send a signal from the motorhome to the towed vehicle's lights and the tail lights, and allow you to be safe and legal out there on the road by allowing other drivers to know when you're turning and stopping, and also to see you at night. Then we have our braking system. This is going to be essential just to stay safe and legal out there on the road, as I said before, with the diodes, but this is going to allow your vehicle's brakes to assist your motorhome in stopping, so you're not just relying on the brakes of the motorhome. Then we have our safety cables here. This will be just there as a last resort in case of a catastrophic failure. If something were to fail, then these will be able to keep everything together so you can get pulled over and stay safe. These diodes will install into your factory taillight wiring, and those diodes are there just to protect your vehicle's wiring to prevent any back feeds or anything that can damage them. One thing you will need to already have or purchase with your diodes is a 6-pole like this. This is how you will send the signal from the motorhome to the rear of the vehicle. It's just going to be one of those things that's necessary, along with a umbilical like this. And as far as the installation goes, you do have to run wires all the way back to the rear of the vehicle from the front here. So if it's not something that you're looking to do yourself, feel free to check out our dealer locator. If you are looking to get this installed yourself, then just follow along and I'll walk you through that process. If you have installed these diodes on your Jeep and you just want to share your thoughts or opinions, then please feel free to leave a review or comment. To begin our installation, you'll want to find out where you are going to mount your 6-pole. I know ours is going to be right around here, but I'm not going to mount it up yet. So what I did was, when I ran my wire, I just left some slack and taped it to our safety cable loop there. That way we'll have enough wire to work with. But really, I just fed our wires back underneath our grill and brought it up around our intake here, just trying to keep everything tucked away. And from here, I just like to find a nice grounding point, and there's actually some factory grounds here. They did paint over them, so I would just run that nut off and on a few times, just get that paint out of there. But what we'll do is find out about where we need to cut our white wire. We're going to cut it, and I'll separate it just a little bit on this end. On the other end, I'm going to separate all of that, and we'll use that extra white wire as our jumper between driver's side and passenger side tail light. And then on this end, I'm going to crimp down a ring terminal and get it attached to that grounding point. With our 3 remaining wires, we're running those back to our tail lights, so I just dropped it down. We're right next to our battery up there. Just dropped it down the wheel well, and from there I'm just following the frame all the way back. And then there's a fuel tank here, so it's kind of tucked up above that. And I brought it out here to the center. I separated our green from our yellow and brown. Our green's going to go to our passenger side. The yellow and brown are going to go to our driver's side. So I'll just follow the frame rail more, and then we'll get up to the taillights. Before we can route our wires up into our taillights, we'll need to remove them. So if you just open up your into your cargo area, there's a plastic panel here. You may need to get a trim tool up under it, but ours is actually loose already, so I can just get my hand underneath it. It'll just pop straight out. And behind that is a 10mm plastic bolt. And we'll just get that taken off. Get that taken off. You may want to hold your tail light while you're doing it in case it is loose like ours. Take that out. It's got a little spring on it. Pull your tail light straight out, and then we can unplug our wiring. Our Jeep does have some extra wires here for their 4-pole trailer wiring, so yours may look a little different, but the plugs work the same way. There's a locking tab here, just push it back, push in on the pin and pull the plugs apart. Now we need to find our tail light signal. I already tested just with the test light. I turned the tail lights on. It's going to be this skinny white and gray wire. So I'll cut this about in the middle. I did peel back this covering. I just used some snips and then pulled it back. It pulled back pretty easy. So let's cut that right there. And what I'll do is strip this, add the included spade terminals to each side, and get it plugged into our diode. And then I also ran our wires up through the tail light pocket here. And what I did with our white wire, I ran that up with our brown and yellow, and I just cut our brown and left a little slack so I can plug into the diode. But we combine those two because if you remember, that white is going to be our link between our two taillights for our taillight signal. And once again, I'll strip these back and get some of the spade terminals connected, and we'll plug that into our diode. Now that we have our yellow and brown wire ran up to our tail lights, we've stripped it back and connected spade terminals to them. The yellow will go to RV brake in, the brown will go to RV tail in, and then for our car signal here, that's going to be the thicker white and gray wire. So that will go into car in on the side furthest from the tail light, and the side closer to the tail light will be car out. And the last wire will be our ground, which I just self-tapped with a ring terminal right there, and we'll just plug that in. Now what I'll do is I'll zip tie this up just to keep it from moving around too much. I'll just zip tie it to our factory wires and use some RTV or black silicone to seal those connections up. Then we just need to plug our taillight back in and reinstall it. Then we're ready to move on to the passenger side. Now on the passenger side, I just routed our white wire. I tucked it up above a heat shield. There's just a couple 8mm bolts just to keep it away from the exhaust. But essentially the same thing. We're plugging that white wire as our tail, but the factory wire that we spliced into is the thicker white and orange. So one end goes into car in and the car out goes to the end closest to the tail light. And of course we grounded off and tied in our green, which is our brake light. So before we can get our 6-way connector hooked up, you'll want to find a mounting point for your bracket. We have a Roadmaster base plate that came with this that just bolts into some factory holes on our Jeep's bumper. So it just depends on your base plate. But from there, we'll just, on the back side of our connector, just back off all of these screws except for the one that will say S. We're not going to use that. So just back them off just enough to get your wiring in. You don't want to lose the bolts or anything like that. But from there, we'll just start going one by one with the wires. Our white will go into GD, so you'll just slip it in there and tighten down that Phillips head screw. And then we'll continue to do that with the rest of the wires. Our brown wire will go into our tail light plug-in, which will be TM. Yellow will be left turn or LT, and green will be RT, which is for right turn. And our red one will go into our center post here. Now that we have everything tested and it's working properly, I'll just backfill our wiring with some silicone just to make sure our connections don't get corroded or anything like that. And then I'll mount up our 6-pole. Now we have our 6-pole hooked up to a tail light tester, and I'll just run through all the lights, make sure everything's working. That should be our tail lights, left turn, brake lights, and our right turn. Once you have your 6-pole mounted up, that's going to do it for our look at and installation of the Roadmaster Smart Diode Kit on our 2024 Jeep Wrangler Unlimited.